is up, math superstars? In this edition of Mr. Peterson Presents, I'm bringing to you Objective 7.1b. This is all about scientific notation. When we talk about scientific notation, this is just a really fancy way to write really big numbers and really small numbers. And so when we write scientific notation, this is going to be a number that's expressed in scientific notation. It's going to be written as two different things here. It's going to be written as the product, so it means we're going to be multiplying, of a number and a power of 10. So with this number is going to be greater than or equal to 1 and less than 10. So it's going to be any number from 1 to 10. So it can be a whole number, or it can be a decimal in there. But that's going to be the first part of how we write scientific notation. And then you put a multiplication sign, and our second number is going to be a power of 10, either with a positive or negative exponent. So here are just some examples here before we get started. And so here in example number 1, here we have this number of 5 million. And so here we have lots and lots of zeros. We can actually write that number using scientific notation as 5.0. So this is our number that's between 1 and 10 times 10 to the 6th power. So 10 to the 6th power is 1 million. 1 million times 5 gives us this number of 5 million. You can also know that for 10 to the 6th power, it has 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros in 5 million. Kind of help you out, little secrets with that. So here our second example here is we have an example of a really small number. So we have 0.000072. The way we can write this in scientific notation here. Our first number, this is a number between 1 and 10, so we have 7.2 times 10 to the negative 5th power. And we'll explain how we get the negative 5th power here coming up in a very short period of time. And so our first thing is we're going to figure out how to change a number from standard form, which would be like our examples of 5 million and our decimal, to scientific notation. So we're going to give you some steps and some practice to do with this. So for very large numbers here, we have this very large number of 65 million. And so our very first step is we're going to place a decimal point at the end of this number. So we're going to place our decimal point at the end of the zeros. Step number 1. Step number 2 is we're going to move the decimal to create a number between 1 and 10. So let's go ahead and move our decimal now. So we moved it one place. So right now we only have 6,500,000. We need to get a number between 1 and 10. So let's keep moving it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Moved it 6 places now. We are at 65. So we're getting really, really close to that number between 1 and 10. If we move it one more time, that gives us a number of 6.5. So we know that number is between 1 and 10. And then we can add our multiplication sign. And we know our second number is going to be a power of 10 here. And so we know that the number of moves that we took is going to be our exponent. So let's go ahead and count the number of moves we made. So we made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here for our exponent here, for the power of 10, our exponent is going to be 7. And so congratulations, we took 65 million and we wrote it in scientific notation using our first number is a number between 1 and 10. And at the very end here, now we have 10 to the 7th power as our power of 10. So this works for any number, any large number we need to deal with. And we wrote it out in scientific notation. Very nice. So now let's talk about small numbers here. We have this decimal 0.00026. So our very first step is we need to move the decimal to create a number between 1 and 10. So we have our decimal point already for us here. So let's go ahead and move it to the right this time. 1. We're still not there yet. We're at 0.0026. Let's go 2. 3. We're at 0.26. And we moved it 4 times. So we're at 2.6. Then we add our multiplication sign. Let's go add our 10 in here. So we know that we need to have some kind of exponent here. So the exponent is going to tell us, is going to be the number of times we moved. And so for these, for really small numbers here, we can see we moved our decimal 1, 2, 3, 4. But the different thing with small numbers is we're going to use a negative exponent. So we have -4. And so that tells us that this number here, written in scientific notation, is going to be a really small decimal. We have our small number here. Anytime we have that decimal with a really small number, we are going to use that negative exponent here in our power of 10. So now let's talk about how to change a number from scientific notation to standard. So here we're given this number 9 times 10 to the 6. And we're going to have 2 steps for this one. So our very first step is we're going to write out our number 9 here. We're going to add a decimal point. And our very first step tells us we're going to move the decimal point as many spaces to the right as our exponent here. So our exponent is 6. So let's go to move our decimal point 6 spaces. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill in every space that we have here with a 0. So let's go ahead and do that. 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right now we wrote 9 times 10 to the 6th power is going to be 9 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 6 zeros. And we're going to add our commas in. And it's going to give us a number of 9 million. So now let's go ahead and try another one. We have our 2 steps here. So we have our first step here is we have our number 1.0305. And it says we need to move our decimal point. The number of spaces here is our exponent. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to fill in each space that we have with a 0. And now let's go ahead and rewrite this number now to make it nice and neat so we can read it. We added 4 zeros. Let's go ahead and add our commas here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 1.0305 times 10 to the 8th gives us a number of 103,050,000. So now what do we do with negative exponents here? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 7. We're going to add our decimal point at the end here. And it says now we're going to move the decimal to the left as many times as the exponent. We're going to move it left because we have a negative exponent right there, -3. So let's go ahead and move it 3 spaces to the left now. So let's do 1, 2, 3. We're going to rewrite our decimal in the leading 0. And we notice that we have some spaces to fill in. So let's go fill those in with zeros is our second step. So 7 times 10 to the -3rd power gives us 7 thousandths as a decimal. So let's try this one as our last example here in the video. So we're just going to go ahead and follow the same steps here. So we have 4.309. And it's going to be to the -4th power. That's going to tell us we need to go to the left. So we're making a decimal here. So we have our decimal already there between 4 and 3. Let's go and move it 4 places to the left now. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. We add our decimal in the leading 0. And we have some spaces to fill in. So let's go and fill in our spaces. So this gives us a decimal, a very small number. When we write this as 0.0004309.